Hey y'all, welcome back to Susie on the Farm. In today's video, I have some fun thrift flips for you. Gonna change things up and do things a little bit differently today, so y'all let me know what you think about that. Let's go ahead and get started with today's projects. So here's the items I have picked out of my stash to work on today. I got this at the Goodwill bins last week. I've had this a while, looking pretty rough, so I've got to do some repairs. I have another little praying angel here and another vase that I've had in my stash a while. Found this heart. It was actually on a shelf that I've already made over, so we're going to do something with it. This frame that I did not get to last week, and I have yet to be able to sell these little cardboard nesting box, so I thought I'd give them a little makeover too. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. I'm just now noticing as I'm cleaning this guy that there is a little piece of his wing missing there. That's no problem. That is going to be an easy repair, but I need to do it before I do anything else. So I'm just going to take a little bit of air dry clay, just form it onto there, kind of how the other side is. And I'm going to use some Titebond glue and just use my finger just to mold that in. Titebond glue is my favorite for this kind of thing. It sets up pretty quickly, and then after about 24 hours, it is stuck down and you cannot get it off. After this clay sets up a little bit, I'll go over it, like with a pencil or something and make a few of those marks to make it blend in even better. This urn had also been repaired, not by me, but had been repaired before I got it. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to stick a little bit of air dry clay into that crack and all the way through on all those little cracks. I don't even need to use glue on something like this. It's so small because the paint will seal it in once we get the paint on there. Those are drying. I'm going to move on to this wooden bow. Like I said, this was attached to a shelf. So the first thing I have to do is get these nails off. And this was really giving me like early 90s decor vibes. I can remember back when I first got married in the early 90s, my entire kitchen had the blue and the mauve and the bows and the little ducks with bows around their necks. And bows are so coming back. As I was thinking, that's how you know that you have really aged on up there, is when a home decor trend that you actually decorated with as an adult is coming back. So that one is with the bows. I am using this beautiful blue color. The name of it escapes me right now, but I'll put it on the screen for y'all. And I'm using a pointed sash brush to paint this on. It just helps get those in those little cracks. I'm not too particular about what kind of brushes I use, but every now and then I love to use this pointed sash to get really down deep in cracks. And this wood, super dry, so it really soaked in the paint. I did 2 coats, and I'm drying it in between with my dryer. What I'm doing a little differently in the video today is normally I do one project from beginning to end. I show y'all everything, and then I show you the completed project. In today's video, I'm going to do it in the order that I actually do it in because it's more efficient that way. And as a reseller, booth owner, whatever a lot of you guys are, you need to know the more efficient ways to do it. And if we all had unlimited amount of time, we would do one project, finish it beginning to end, but in reality, that's usually not how it works. So I'm going to do my video in the order that I'm doing these projects today. So as y'all can see there, I did heavily distress this one. This wood, I had taken it outside and actually sanded some of the rough edges, but the wood was kind of primitive like, and I really wanted to go ahead and stick with that style. So I heavily distressed it, and now I am clear waxing it to seal in that DIY paint, and I can put a sawtooth hanger on the back of this and it can hang on the wall. So I hope you guys enjoy this project, and we're going to move on to the rest of our list. Next, I'm going going to do the same painting technique on several of these items. I've got a little bit of Fusion Chateau. If you watch my channel often, you know this is one of my go-to colors. It's just the perfect off-white color. It's not too bright, it's not too dark, and I'm going to texture it up using some of this fresco powder. The directions I think say mix half and half. I really just eye it until I get the texture that I like, and then I'm just using a cheap brush and I'm dabbing it on. This is the one where those repairs had already been made, so this texture will also help hide that as a little bit more as well. And you can use baking soda to do this texture, or let's see, Dixie Belle has a sea spray. There's salt wash. So there's a lot of different products you can use to get some texture in your paint. It's just an additive, and it mixes up really easy and paints on really well. So I'm going to do this urn. I'm also going to do this vase that you see up there in the left-hand corner. I did it off camera. And then I'm going to do this little ceramic guy. This is a completely unfinished ceramic. And honestly, I find it easier to paint items that are glossy, shiny color than I do to get unfinished ceramics. They're just really dry, and there's always spots you miss, especially when you're painting with a color that is similar to the unfinished color like I am here. But I got this guy all painted up, and we're going to sit them aside, let them dry, and we're going to move on to the other angel that I have done a little bit of repairs on next. For him, there are tons of details in him, and I knew he was going to be not a quick paint job. See all those details? Those are going to be so beautiful highlighted. But first we got to get some paint on there. And for that, I'm using Elmwood, one of these little sample bottles of Elmwood. This is the one of the newer Fusion colors. I haven't used it on many things, so I wanted to give it a shot on here. And also, little word of advice, when you get the little sample sizes of the Fusion, once you open them and use them, they are going to get thick and harden up, and they're just easier to use and paint with when they're not that way. So don't just let your little samples sit around forever. Use them up. So that's what I'm doing here. I want to use up this Elmwood on him. So, and I've got him on a turntable because it took me a little while to get him painted. So he's aside drying now. And this is the frame that I didn't get to last week. And I want to use one of the new Connie papers. This is called Spring Dough. And it has the Eden in it from DIY, the new color. So that's what I'm using to paint this. Is this Eden or Walk on Water? Hold on. No, it's Walk on Water. Eden's a little bit more greener. This is kind of a turquoise. So this is Walk on Water. I am giving this frame 2 coats. I'm just going to go over everything. It's going to be really hard to not get on that silver, but I am going to dry it and do another coat, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to wet distress just on the silver parts. I'm using a baby wipe, and that's one of the things that I love about DIY paint is how easy it is to wet distress without sandpaper, so you don't have the big mess, you don't get the scratches. I am just using a baby wipe here, and I'm going to bring back every bit of that silver. And when I go off camera there, I'm using my mister bottle to re-wet the same baby wipe over and over again until I get back down to all this silver. So that way I didn't have to avoid getting paint all over that because it would have been nearly impossible, but I'm still getting to have that beautiful detail shine through. After I get the wet distressing done, I'm going to use my heat gun to quickly zap that dry again, and then I'm going to do 1 even coat of Big Top to seal in that paint. It doesn't hurt if I get it on the silver. It won't hurt that at all. Normally, I do have a suggestion when you are using Big Top over a darker color like this is mix your Big Top and a little bit of paint together, and that will keep it from looking kind of cloudy and everything. This one wasn't bad in the end, but I forgot to mention that, and I forgot to do it as well. So it's not the end of the world if you do forget it. I'm going to put some clear wax over this after it dries just to cut down a little bit on that shine. So we're getting a little bonus thing here. I'm using the multiple rice paper, so there's some different sizes on there. I went through my stash and I found this little shelf sitter. I wouldn't pick this up normally, but I think it was in a bag that I got off the wall for something else that I wanted in the bag. So it was just in my stash, so I brought it out. I painted the entire thing with the walk on water, and now I'm going to paint the back of the rice paper because I want a light base behind that so those colors really shine. And then once that is dry, it is a perfect size for this little shelf sitter. I'm just going to decoupage it directly on top there. I'm using the Fusion decoupage and transfer gel because I had it sitting right there next to me, and I'm just going to do my little starter strip as always, spread down my glue, and then smooth my paper over it and put another layer of glue on top, and then those are getting set aside to dry. For my little cardboard nesting boxes, I'm using 3 different beautiful colors here. I've got skeleton key, I've got cake batter, and I've got mint chip, and I'm going to paint them off camera. I really like the idea of putting a label on them, so I went through kind of seeing what I could use. I could have stamped it on there, but I remembered the labels decoupage paper from Recycled, and there happened to be 3 blank labels, the perfect size for those 3 boxes. So here I am painting the back of my labels with a light color because I'm going to put them directly over the darker paints. Word of advice here, be super careful. I can't tell you how many times I've painted the back of a decoupage paper and rubbed it through some wet paint, went to decoupage it on, and found that I had paint on the front of my paper. Let's be mindful and careful of that. So our little angel is dry and he is ready for some detail now. For that, I am going to dry brush, and I'm just going to grab the Chateau that's right there because it goes with everything. And dry brushing is just that. You put a little paint on your brush and then you wipe most of it back to where your paintbrush is actually dry. And I love doing this over wings because look at that, it just brings it to life. So I'm going to dry brush the entire thing, and then I'm going to put him aside and let him dry. Once he's all dry, because I used Fusion paint and it has a built-in sealer, he is complete, and you can barely even see that repair I made there. I do have a question for you guys. Obviously, he's probably holding like a horn or something in his hand. I don't know where it is. Do you think I should put something there? What do you think I should put there? Any advice you have will be helpful. So the 3 things that we painted with the Chateau textured paint are now ready to be completed. And for that, I am using Fusion Aging Wax. I know I do this technique a lot and y'all have seen it, but it's because it's absolutely awesome. There is just something about this technique and these 2 colors that I love and always sell. So I'm using a baby wipe to wipe back here, and I'm pretty particular. I like to make sure there's no clumps of wax, so I just play with it and get it exactly like I want it to look. And I'm going to do the same thing with this vase and the urn. Those are almost finished. We have one more step to do to them before they're complete. While I'm finishing this up, let me remind you that you can get all the paint and products that I use for my upcycling on my website, susieonthefarm.com. I carry DIY paint, Fusion, the Recycle decoupage paper, the Connie Lines and Designs rice paper, just about everything that you would need. while the wax is drying on those, we're going to finish up our little frame. And I did go over that with some wax, and that's why you can see the wood underneath, because it made the paint transparent again. But once it dries, you will not be able to see that. So I am going to use the other little spring dough, but first I had to pause there and clean that glass, put this frame back together, and this one's done. We got to finish up the little extra project, and for that I'm just sanding off the excess rice paper. Rice paper is a little bit thicker than the regular decoupage paper, so I had to go back and forth and down, but don't ever go up because that will lift up your paper. So at this point, once I get this off, I'm just going to seal up this DIY paint with a little clear wax. These two projects are done. Most of these upcycles are going to be in my Whatnot show tomorrow night. If you haven't already bookmarked that, make plans to attend tomorrow night at 6 over on Whatnot. I'll leave a link below with a $15 credit. If you're new to Whatnot, you can use it in my show or anywhere on Whatnot. But these will definitely be in tomorrow's show, as well as many other spring upcycles that I have done. Now it's time to finish up my little nesting boxes. The paint is all dry on them, and now I am just fussy cutting around these labels that I painted the white behind. I got to get me some better scissors here, but I get them all cut out, and I'm just going to decoupage them onto. I'm starting with the larger box and the larger label, and I'm going to get the lid and put it on just to see how the placement should be. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to put this label on without some of it being covered by the lid, but that's okay. I'm not going for perfection here. I think it looks adorable as is. I am going to decoupage this down using probably, let's see, I don't see any liquid patina there. So I'm using the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. I'm just getting my placement right here, but I'm going to do it the same way that I always do it. I'm going to use a little starter strip and make my way until the entire thing is done and centered onto the box. And I'm actually going to use this transfer gel just to go ahead and seal up this DIY paint so the sheen is the same all the way around. I'll do the same thing with the other two boxes, and at this point you could stamp what you're going to be keeping on the boxes or some words or whatever, but I chose to leave them blank. Whoever gets them can write on them if they wish to, or stamp on them if they wish to. Low key though, I'm kind of hoping that I get to keep these, because now I can see me storing a lot of my paper crafting supplies in these, because I love how they turned out with their spring makeover. And I hope you guys do too. Leave me a comment below. Let me know which of today's projects was your favorite. Let me know if you like this concept where I show you guys the order I do them in, or you prefer one total project beginning to end with the views of it after. And finally, we have come back around to finishing up the final projects. These are the three that I painted in Chateau and waxed with the aging wax. For the two, that is an urn and a pitcher. Now I'm just going to put some floral arrangements in there. I'm using some scrap floral foam that I have and just fitting it down in there. And for this one, I'm taking some Spanish moss and just covering everything before I put the flowers in. For this one, I'm using some Dollar Tree marigolds. These, I didn't buy these. I think these are Dollar Tree. The tags kind of remind me of the Dollar Tree tags. But these are some that was in the stuff that my customer Carolyn was getting rid of. So I thought that I would utilize them in these spring makeovers. And when you get, if you're not great at floral arranging, the key is don't just stick the stem in like it is. Cut them apart, arrange them how you think looks good. And that's all I'm doing here is I'm putting, I think I had two of these marigold stems. One of them was a mum, so I put it way up there because I don't want to use mums for spring. So, but two of them filled it up pretty good. And then I also have some green filler. I'm going to do the same thing. Use wire cutters, cut them off, and just fill them in. This one's done. For the vase, I wanted to use lavender, and I'm going to link this lavender that I'm using. I got it on Amazon like 2 years ago. This is finally the last pack, and I use a lot of lavender. So this lasted me a very long time, and it's very beautiful, very realistic looking. So also be mindful of how much floral you are putting in this. I always keep track of it. Like this one, I think I use 6 little of these lavender stems, so I have to add that up. You know, if you're pricing your object for this object for say $10, you've probably spent $7 on floral for that. So be very mindful of how much floral you're putting into your projects and price them accordingly. For this one, I did not fill the cover, the floral foam. I'm going to do that after, and I'm going to use some reindeer moss from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to stick it where it's showing. That saves on how much you use. And finally, all our projects are done for today. I love how these turned out. I know I use it a lot. I even added in the bunny and the duck that I did a couple of months ago. And look how beautiful these all look together in an arrangement, even with all the different floral. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and coming along as I finished all of these projects. I hope that you have enjoyed them. I also hope to see you tomorrow night on Whatnot, 6 p.m. Central. Don't forget, I'll leave the link below. And I will also see you next Wednesday here at 6. Thanks so much for watching.